Okay, so we are live now. Wednesday's Curlin Community Connection with the wonderful representative from District 28, Kelli Butler. I want to introduce her. She actually has been a business owner since 2003, owning the Butler Family Dental. She has run, I'm just going to go real quick because there's a lot of accolades here, but we have so much to talk about. She ran first for the Senate seat in 2014 and lost to Adam Driggs, and then ran in the House seat as a single shot candidate in 2016, was successful. Returned to her seat in 2018, where she serves alongside Aaron Lieberman. And she's in the slim minority of the 29 versus the 31. She serves on the Health and Human Services Committee. The only strike I see against her is that she went to the U of A. Let's put our hands together and make the big sparky Sun Devil for Kelli Butler.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, so go Devils. Okay, so here's the way we work things on the curling conversation. We try to give you an opportunity to speak. I will try to limit my words because they have really turned in to see you, not me. We ask people to write in their questions in the Facebook Live comment stream. Our wonderful campaign manager, Andy Gomez, then types it into the Zoom, and we do through the magic of the internets, we have a conversation. So Kelli, first of all, how is everybody in your house, your family, your husband and two kids? How's everybody?
Oh, thank you for asking. We're good. In fact, my boys are 27 and 25. So one's in LA and one is working and doing his job. So yeah, I mean, we're really, really fortunate. We're fine. And I hope yours as well and everybody watching. It's certainly a scary time.
Well, the funny thing is I thought my wife and I were doing really well, and then she started talking about having a TED Talk, but doing it from a distant location. And I said, TED Talks? She goes, no, tent talk. I want to get out of this house and go camping. So, yeah, that's where we're at.
I just told my husband I want to go camping for Mother's Day. It might not be social distance camping if everyone's having the same good idea.
Well, my idea of camping is going to a spa, so I won't be out there near you. Hey, so let's start asking questions, okay? I really want to hone in on where we are in our current environment. And the fact is you serve on the Human Services Committee, which is really important. I know you've been a champion for really sound healthcare. So I want to go back to pre-COVID, because one of the points of this conversation is, first, you serve in a district that is pretty much middle of the road, right? You know, they've elected Republicans, they've elected Democrats. They basically they just want to get things done. They want people to work together. And you're one of those people. That's why you're returned each year. What has happened over the years that has just surprised you with the GOP majority has not let go forward?
Yeah, you know, I'm sure we came down there, I think my first session, we were 5 seats down and, you know, we accept that. We're in the minority. We make no rules. We have no power. We were 5 seats down my first term. Then we came back and we're only, you know, 2 seats away from being in the majority, 1 seat away from being in a tie. So we're so much closer. And I guess it's the optimist in us. We all thought, oh, this is going to be, you know, obviously they're going to need our votes on the floor because, you know, if one of them peels off, they can't pass anything because it takes 31 votes to pass and they've got 31 members. So we thought, well, for sure they're going to be reaching out to us. And it was extremely disappointing to find out that they really did not at all. They were waiting until they had 31 of their Republican votes on anything, which means that they never needed to come to us. They never needed to come and say, hey, how can we compromise or work on this in a way that you might be able to agree with it? And there's lots of things, you know, that we would love to be able to compromise and work on. But they just shut down bipartisanship. And it was really strange because it could have been the other way.
Right, unbelievable. But I want to break this down because I was really hopeful as well. And what it turns out, and this is my perception, is that every crazy bill got 31 votes because they did this secret pinky swear that if you vote for my bill, I'll vote for your bill. And I'll vote. So they all gathered together and they just circled the wagons and all kinds of crazy legislation. Unconstitutional legislation came out.
Oh yeah, that's the best, is when we were saying this is unconstitutional on the floor and they just 31 votes. We got lawyers up there saying it's unconstitutional and we do it anyway. Or we don't do it anyway, but the majority party does it anyway. But you're right. I mean, it has been there must be some backroom dealing that because they don't bring stuff to the floor very often if they don't have their 31 votes. In fact, they didn't even let us come to the floor and wouldn't even bring bills to the floor if they didn't have 31 votes. So it's no way to run a state.
Wow.
And it certainly isn't in the best interest of people who want good laws passed.
Yeah, and the people who are registered in the state, we don't even have a 40% registration rate of any one party. So if there's one party that's dominating the conversation, you're talking about tyranny by the minority, right? So, it's like 38% of Republicans and they're, controlling everything, which is crazy. So I want to take a step back, Miss Kelli Butler, Representative Butler. Tell me about the time when there was $55 million to be able to come out of your committee to go into child care. A couple of years ago?
What's that? You're breaking up.
Was it a couple of years ago?
Yeah, it was after the 2018 session. So we were ending our first term. And we knew that the federal government had given us the opportunity to use $55 million on high quality childcare to help people, access good quality childcare. And we had and it was our federal tax dollars coming back to help the kids here in our state. And I guess this was the end of my first term. So I just thought, well, it must have been an accident that we didn't allocate the money, because who wouldn't use this opportunity to get this $55 million into the system and get our kids ready for kindergarten by getting them in high quality preschool. So I called a bunch of my Republican colleagues, because what you need is I think you need 2/3 majority to call you back into session. And I was like, hey guys, you didn't know this. We must not have known that this was available. Would you sign on? Because we want to go back, and all we have to do is just go back and just allocate the money. The money's there. We just didn't allocate it. And I will tell you, I heard from some members that I have a lot of respect for, but they were just like, oh, yeah, I wish I could, but I have a primary, so I can't. So, politics kind of got in the way, and it was so disheartening. But it just felt so wrong to me that we weren't doing everything we could to fix it. So it was.
So I'm kind of eye-opening. Oh, it drives me nuts, especially, words and deeds are just so different, right? So people talk about doing the people's work, but they don't do the people's work because they're scared. It's mind-blowing that you can call yourself a fiscal conservative and say, I'm going to give $55 million that's due to the people here in Arizona away to another state. Just going to give it away. It doesn't go back and like spawn more dollars. It just goes away.
Well, and just think about, you're a teacher. Think about those kids being prepared for kindergarten and how it would have impacted their entire lives. And actually, the money just stayed in the account. We actually did allocate it, I think, the next year. So we did finally do it, but we could have done it over 2 years. And it was just awful to me that, tell that to the kids that missed out and, didn't get enough instruction before they went to kindergarten. So, super short.
Okay, so coming out of committee, we now have kind of reached this stop. Again, we're talking with Representative Kelli Butler from District 28. If you'd like to ask a question, just write that into the Facebook feed and we'll get it answered. Going into this session, there was talk about ending really early, that the budget would be solved and done, of course, without any input from Democrats. But as it turned out, as we all probably knew, the session was dragging out, and then we had an abrupt stop. What kind of bills could have helped us in the crisis we're currently in manage it a little better? Is there anything that was was there anything that was perhaps on your side of the aisle or on a moderate side of the aisle?
Well, there's a ton of bills that were moving through the process normally. I'm trying to think of what probably that hadn't gotten through committee that would have been very helpful at this point. I mean, there's some little esoteric licensing things and some better oversight of long-term care facilities would be good right now, as we're seeing a lot of COVID cases there. But the real opportunity for us to try to get things passed is in the budget as part of the amendment process. And I will tell you, once again, I guess someday I'm going to learn. But once again, I was like, well, this is a health crisis and a health emergency. Of course, the Republicans are going to consider some of these things, even though all the other budget processes they never have. But I was just, well, of course they're going to consider ideas from the other side of the aisle, because we were in a literal health emergency and it's life or death. So we introduced a bunch of amendments, in all sincerity, trying to prevent evictions. Mine was preventing evictions. Kirsten Engel, who sits next to me on the floor, did an amendment just to say that the Attorney General could go after someone for price gouging. Like the guy who buys up all the toilet paper or the hand sanitizer, they could go after the price gougers. That couldn't even get on the budget. So we had a bunch of those bills, paid sick leave, all kinds of ideas that really should have been part of the process, should have been debated all along. And we try to introduce those during the budget, because that's really our only time to have those bills heard. As you know, the committee chairs get to make all the rules. So we introduce our bills at the beginning of the session, and then they just don't hear them. So, our opportunity is really at the budget. And so once again, I thought maybe they'd listen to us and let something get through, but they didn't.
It's frustrating. It must be. It will be very different when I get there. I hope by the grace of God and prayer and hard work that we will be sitting beside each other in the majority. And here's the thing, you have been elected twice and you are a great representative, but you are very much limited when you are in the minority, more so than you should ever be. It's just a fact of living in a Republican dominated state that we are. So we're going to put up a link right here, because you winning and being the 29th legislature does not do anything for moving Arizona forward. When we get to 31, that's when you get to be in the chair of that committee. That's when you can make the rules. That's when you get to hear other bills. That's when you get to decide the course and open it up for fair discussion and adult conversations. So we're going to put a link into the bar right here. If you'd like to donate to Kelli and myself, all donations will be halved. It will be even Steven. And we will work together to try to put forward a better Arizona. Let's get back to the issues here. Representative Butler, how do you feel about the extension of the stay in order that was just announced tonight, apparently about an hour ago?
Yes, so it's a relief, I think, because we still have increasing numbers of COVID-19 cases in Arizona. We are working to flatten the curve, and actually people staying home is a godsend. People are following the instructions and staying home as much as they can, and that's working. So, but we still have too many cases. We are still not doing enough testing, although let me let people know that there is a testing blitz this weekend. So if you want to get tested, you should be able, I think they're trying to do 10,000 tests this weekend. So there is opportunities for people who feel like, I think they're doing the real-time tests. So if you feel sick, you could get tested. I don't think they're doing, there's a difference in the antibody tests, which would tell you if you ever had it. But I think that the testing they're doing this weekend is the real-time, do you have it right now? But so because we haven't met the standards yet, we aren't decreasing in the numbers daily. We are not doing enough testing. We're barely doing any contact tracing, where they're supposed to be calling all of the people you may have contacted to let them know that they need to stay home too. Because those metrics haven't been met, we are thrilled that the governor has said he's going to extend the stay home order until May 15th. So we have 2 more weeks to try really hard to limit you going outside. But you can still go to the grocery store. Hopefully people are wearing masks in public. You can do takeout from your restaurants. I know I've gone to Home Depot to get plants for my garden with my mask on. So I'm glad to see that the governor extended it. I hope that your viewers will agree that it's the responsible thing to do to make sure that we're keeping our, we could very easily, if it tick off, we could overwhelm our hospitals. We put our healthcare and first responders at risk. So it's the patriotic thing to do in my mind, to protect your community, to protect your neighbors, your family, and just stay home as much as you can. So glad to see the governor provide that leadership.
And if you do go out, try to put on a mask. It's not for your protection, it's for the protection of others. It just basically says, I appreciate my fellow human. It's like a courtesy wave almost, right? It's just a nice gesture. And so Representative Butler, now that you are in COVID and it's election season because you guys are really not in session, even though you're in session, what are you doing differently? How is it campaigning? I mean, what are you guys doing as a District 28? I know you're strong.
Oh my gosh, we are so lucky. You know, I inherited the district from Representative Eric Meyer, who had been elected for 8 years before me and was the minority leader in the House. So we had a huge group of volunteers that I was lucky to inherit, and we still do. And now it's me and Representative Aaron Lieberman are running with Christine Marsh, as you know, the 2016 Teacher of the Year, running for the state Senate. And so we are so fortunate because we have hundreds and thousands probably of volunteers at this point. And what we're doing differently is we can't knock on doors, as you know. We are doing phone calls, but nobody wants to hear from, you know, some politician talking about politics right now. So and we want to do what we can to help our communities. So we're doing COVID-19 wellness checks. And I'll tell you, I mean, we're calling different parts of the district and asking if people know where to get help, where to get services, what's happening with unemployment benefits. It has been so rewarding to be able to help people find out, you know, how to get those services, how to get food, and also just heartbreaking at the same time to hear from people who are just truly struggling right now. So it's been a mixed bag, and it really it transcends politics. It's not about politics. It's about the fact that we have all these volunteers that are ready and willing to help, and we've been able to get them, you know, focused on helping our community, not so much us as politicians or as you know, as people who are campaigning.
You know what? I kind of relate it to because we're kind of doing the same thing, and it's the silver lining, it's the rainbow for the storm. I mean, it's really some people will come out of this experience I believe the majority will come out much better people, and we will see the better angels kind of coming out of this experience. There'll be some that will be, quite frankly, poorer and blaming and scapegoating and, you know, bad behavior. But I think we're in a way moving forward in a much more kinder, gentler manner. And I really think, this is just me, that the legislative makeup is really going to work together, because there's going to be a crisis with the budget, and I see both sides coming together and dealing in a manner of adult conversations. Hey, good looking John says, thanks for doing everything you're doing there, Representative Butler. And Julie says she thinks it's really interesting hearing what you have to say. And Brett says, thank you, Representative Butler. See, they're so nice. Tell me, what do you think is going to be different when, you know, we are finally out of this crisis and we go back to our daily lives? You know, if it ever, you know, our regular lives won't be the same, but how do you envision it?
Well, that's a great question. I think we probably took for granted how great our economy was for a while. I think we're going to, you know, have really renewed respect for just, you know, how much it's supposed to all work together. We're supposed to be, you know, a community of people who support and protect each other. And I think we will be that. And, you know, what's the budget going to look like? It's not going to be great. Fortunately, we do have, you know, money in the rainy day fund, but I think we really need to take a step back and prioritize the things that are the most important, the things that are going to help, you know, help families get back on their feet, help small businesses that aren't seeing enough relief at the federal level. So I think if we take a really focused approach and we, you know, working with experts instead of coming up with wacky ideas on our own. I mean, that's what's really needed is some real, you know, focused approach on helping people and families and small businesses in our state get their feet back under.
Yeah, I am excited to be part of a coalition of like real estate brokers and even the Arizona Chamber. I mean, everybody coming together ready to give something up to make an Arizona that is better than ever before, and one that we are just so proud of to have in 20 years. I mean, really looking forward. And so it's kind of like, and you're making those calls to people. You know what I equate that with like a parent-teacher conference. You're teaching these kids, and all of a sudden you meet with the parent and you hear the love that they have for that child who might have been misbehaving, who might have been doing some things that you didn't like, and you're like, oh, I love that person too. and it just reinvigorates you. So now you're dealing with your constituents and you're like, this is why I started. Love it.
Really true. It really is. I mean, I love knocking on doors. I think it's the most fun. And I have these wonderful memories of doing this now for, 10 years, basically, in my district, and just talking to people. And I'll go back to their door the next time and remember the conversation with them about their child in school or whatever it is. So I'm missing that, but to be able to help people, and people are reaching out, who need help getting their unemployment insurance to get processed. And if you have anybody in District 23 that's having trouble, feel free to reach out to me. We've kind of got it down to a little bit of a science over here because we've had so many people asking. So if anybody's having trouble, they can email me at the Capitol and I can help put them in the queue.
That is funny because actually there was somebody who's a flight attendant who reached out to a friend and to me because they weren't getting anywhere with Representative Lawrence. And so I reached out to Aaron Lieberman because I was just having a conversation with him. I said, would you be willing to talk to this person? And right away, he's like, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You two are the best.
Well,
the best.
We are the farthest north and east Democrats elected in, I think, Maricopa County, and so we have to take pity on y'all up there and help you out. So I go to a lot of events in like Fountain Hills, and we need to move it over so you can do the heavy lifting in your neck of the woods. And I think I told you this. I called dibs on sitting next to you on the House floor because I think in those.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be a hoot.
It'll be good to be sitting next to you.
I always have the best food. Butler, I always have the best food. I pull pretzels out of my pocket.
Oh.
I went to a happy hour in someone's driveway the other day. We were 12 feet apart, and I had like pretzel chips in my pocket. And I couldn't share them, obviously, but when I get to the House floor, hey, I gave Paul like a whole bunch of smokehouse almonds.
Literally the the sergeant at arms will run you down if you have food on the floor because they're worried about the carpet.
He'll never catch me. I'm not scared.
On budget night, we'll have like Skittles and we'll just kind of like lean over our drawer and eat them.
Oh yeah. I'll be shooting those gummy bears from across the room. Hey, so Al Ronca, a really great guy out in Fountain Hills, he's got a question for you. So we're really assuming now, if we get the majority in the House, what's the number one item you'd like to see done?
You know what? We've got to tackle education funding sincerely and sustainably once and for all so that we are giving schools and children the certainty. We have to do that. I mean, honestly, pre-K through universities, we have just decimated budgets, and we're putting money back into K-12 and restoring a little bit of the funding, but we need to find long-term sustainable education funding. The other thing, I think that infrastructure, obviously everyone knows, not only have we not invested in education to the detriment of not only our individual children, but our economy and our workforce, we haven't invested in our infrastructure. So we've got crumbling roads, and that means, transportation. That means economic opportunities in rural Arizona are, made more difficult because our transportation infrastructure is so frayed. And the other thing is healthcare. We are, I think it was in the paper this week, that we are the third worst in the nation in public health funding. And we are seeing now, what does that mean when we, in the middle of this pandemic, that we don't have people who really know how to do contact tracing. We're slow on the uptake, which we've just been caught flat-footed because we don't have a funded health department ready to jump in. So, I mean, I think what we're seeing is, unfortunately, the effect of the years and years of budget cuts without investing in cost-effective things that have a return on investment, like education and transportation and healthy people. And that's what we're going to change. So I cannot wait until we are in the majority. We can have really thoughtful conversations, even in tough times. What's the most important things to do first? And it's got to be keeping things okay for education, healthcare, for sure. Yeah,
and I'm excited about that. And I want to repeat, I didn't mean to say you were ineffective as a legislator. I just meant that when you have 29 and you have the foot of the majority on your neck, it's really tough to speak and it's tough to get your voice heard. So if we get to 31 in the other way, I pledge to allow everybody on the other party work with me. I'll work with anybody who wants to move Arizona forward. We're going to change the whole dynamic. So I would ask the people again, we'll have Andy put the link in there. If you want to get to 31 in the legislature, it needs both you, Representative Butler, and me, soon to be Representative Curlin. So donate, we'll split that up. Last thing I'm going to say, I want to ask you a question. When you are in the majority, will you hold open hearings on the budget?
Yes. I mean, there transparency and allowing people to be heard and know that they have a voice in the process is so important. You know, I don't know what has happened. I haven't been in the majority, so I feel like they've just maybe been in charge of everything for so long. They've sort of lost sight of the fact that there are good ideas on both sides. They don't have to listen to both sides, and so they very often don't. But I know very well, because we're people in the world who have all kinds of friends and associates and business people. You can disagree and figure out a common, solution. You can disagree and compromise, and that's where the best solutions are. We don't do that at the Capitol very often.
Yeah, I mean, we do think a little differently. I think if we just kind of pigeonhole it, Republicans think about today, Democrats think about tomorrow. We need to think about both today and tomorrow. And we can use everybody's voice. Hey, Representative Butler, this has been great. I'm going to kind of wrap it up. We are going to play our game. I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping here. Tomorrow's episode at 5 o'clock, we have your seatmate, Representative Aaron Lieberman, and we're going to talk mainly, we're going to try to focus on early childhood development because he, with his nonprofit backstory, I think is a great resource for that. Then Friday, we're going to have the Education Army for a special episode of a happy hour where I'll be buying drinks. Since I can't get there, you'll have to take an IOU. And that's at 5 o'clock. And then next week, all week, we're having Teacher Appreciation Week, where we're going to have Joe Thomas on Monday, AEA president. We're going to have the local teachers president on Tuesday. We're going to have somebody from Save Our Schools on Wednesday. On Thursday, we're going to have a local school board vice president. On Friday, we're going to have Superintendent of Public Instruction, Kathy Hoffman.
Wow.
So next week is a big, big deal. Anyway, so hopefully people will give money to you and I, and we will get in the majority to get these things started in real adult conversations and stop the legislative malpractice. But right now, Miss Kelli Butler, representative from District 28, are you ready to play The Butler Did It?
I'm a little afraid, but sure.
Okay. I like to try to get to know the personalities of the people we're interviewing. I think it's good to show the human side. So we're going to have a little fun with you trying to identify famous butlers in our kind of literature and television and movies. Okay. So I'm going to start you off with, I think is what is an easy one. You and I are very similar in generation. So, who served as the butler for the Wayne family in Batman?
I have no idea. I know I'm going to do terribly at this game. I have no idea.
Okay, Bruce Wayne's butler, Batman's butler was Alfred. Alfred. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to try a different one. Here's another one. Okay. I don't watch this show, but I think a lot of people do. Downtown, it's supposed to be Downtown Abbey, but they left a W out. Downton Abbey? It's not downtown, it's not uptown. Okay, I don't know that one either. It's Charles Carson, apparently. Okay, here's one. If you remember, there was a wonderful comedy show called Soap. It had tons of people in it. It had Billy Crystal. Remember that? And then they had a spin-off about a butler. His last name was Dubois. He was an African-American. Do you know his name? Same name as the butler as the title of the show. It is?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Benson.
Oh, okay.
Benson.
Well, this is
Does it sound familiar? Okay, this is a really difficult game. It is a difficult game, apparently. Okay, have you ever watched The Fresh Prince? Have you ever watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Okay, that guy's name was Jeffrey. And then the last one. Okay. How about you? Have you heard of Gerard Butler?
Yes. In fact, we call him Cousin Gerard, even though he's not related. Or we don't know if he is, but we decided he was.
Okay, last one. We are not getting off the air until you get one correctly, okay? All right. This is the guy from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you remember the Rocky Horror Picture Show, there was this assistant handyman butler to Frank and Furter. His first name was Riff. His last name was the same, but they changed the vowel. The I changed to an A. His name was Riff.
Raff? Riff Raff.
Yes! You got it, Kelli Butler, Representative District 28. You are free to leave the show.
I need a little culture help, apparently.
I'm telling you, this is much tougher than Leader Fernandez's questions. When I asked Leader Fernandez, I just asked her to identify people in the legislature that would assume the spots of the Gilligan's Island cast members. So I think you might have been Lovey, actually.
That would have been, oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be Marianne. Well, I cannot wait until you, Eric Herland, get down to the Capitol and join me. And like I said, I called dibs, so we're sitting next to each other so we can yuck it up when we're passing all of our bills, because we'll be at least a tie, if not the majority.
Yeah, bring your A game, all right? All right, let's see your dance moves as we dance off of here. All right, here we go. See you later.